My husband works so hard and still helps out with the baby. In fact, he just got back from an important business trip," she added, glancing up and seeing Sam at that exact moment. Sam's eyebrows shot up. Business trip? He had literally just come from a dusty construction site 15 kilometers away, not an international conference. Once upon a time, in a humble village in Nigeria, there lived a young woman named Eber. She was 25 years old, with bright eyes full of dreams. Eber was married to Sam, a kind-hearted 30-year-old engineer. Sam wasn't a rich man, but he worked hard to provide a comfortable life for his family. They lived in a small rented apartment. It wasn't much, but it was home, and Sam made sure that the home was filled with love and laughter as much as he could. Eber and Sam had a baby daughter who was barely a year old. She was a chubby-cheeked little girl with a giggle that could melt anyone's heart. Each morning, the baby's laughter echoed through the house like sweet music. Sam adored their daughter and often woke up early to change her diapers or rock her back to sleep when she fused, allowing Eber to catch a little more rest. He was that kind of husband, thoughtful, supportive, and always putting his family first. In those early days, life was simple and happy in its own way. Sam would head out to work at a construction site just outside the town, dressed in his faded blue overalls and sturdy boots. He would kiss his wife on the forehead and tickle his baby girl's chin before leaving. "Be good, my little princess," he would whisper to the baby, and then to Eber, "I'll be back by sundown. Take care, my love." Eber would smile and wave at him from the doorway, baby on her hip, sunlight catching in her eyes. However, as the months went by, something began to change in Eber. During the long days at home taking care of their daughter, she found a new source of excitement and distraction: her smartphone. It started innocently enough, scrolling through Facebook to see updates from old friends, watching a few funny clips on TikTok while the baby napped, or browsing beautiful pictures on Instagram for inspiration. These small diversions brought color into her day and made her feel connected to the larger world beyond their little village. Over time, what was once a harmless pastime grew into a fierce obsession. Eber found herself reaching for her phone first thing in the morning, even before checking on her baby or greeting Sam, her husband. She would prop the baby on a blanket with some toys and then get lost in the endless scrolls of videos and photos, her eyes glued to the glowing screen. She was mesmerized by the glamorous lifestyle she saw online. People showing off expensive clothes, exotic vacations, fancy cars, and big houses. There were young women like her on TikTok and Instagram who seemed to live like queens, all by making dance videos or streaming their daily routines. Some even got famous and rich practically overnight, and companies sent them free gifts and money just because they had many followers. At first, Eber watched these influencers with admiration and curiosity. She wondered how they did it, how they managed to look so perfect and happy all the time. Then, as days passed, that admiration began to turn into envy. She started feeling restless and dissatisfied with her own life. The once cozy living room now felt too small and plain compared to the luxurious interiors she saw on Instagram. The simple meals she cooked for dinner seemed boring when she had just watched a video of someone dining at a five-star restaurant. Even her wardrobe started to offend her. She had perfectly good clothes that Sam had bought for her during holidays, but now that felt drab. She longed for the stylish outfits the influencers wore, always new and trendy. It wasn't that Ebere's life was bad. Far from it. She had a caring husband, a healthy baby, and a roof over her head. But the more she consumed social media, the more she felt an itch for something more exciting. She wanted the kind of life that would make people's jaw drop when they saw it online. She wanted to be admired and followed too. Deep inside, a seed of ambition had been planted. If those girls online could become famous and wealthy by sharing their lives, why couldn't she? One sunny afternoon, as her baby napped in a cot, Eber attentively opened the front camera on her phone and recorded a short video of herself. She mimicked a popular dance she had seen on TikTok. Nothing too wild, just a cheerful little jig, while smiling brightly. In the background, one could see her living room, modest, with a threadbare couch and a small TV. To Eber's experienced eyes, the video looked fine, but when she compared it to the polished videos of others, she frowned. It wasn't good enough. The lighting was poor, her clothes were ordinary, and the house looked tiny. She hesitated a moment, then deleted the video. If she was going to do this, she wanted to do it right. Over the next few weeks, whenever the baby slept or played quietly, Eber experimented with making videos and taking selfies. She learned how to use filters that made her skin glow and her humble home look a bit more glamorous. She rearranged the furniture to create nicer backgrounds, hanging a pretty scarf on the wall to cover a stain and placing a vase of flowers on the table to add color. She practiced speaking confidently to the camera as if thousands of people were watching, even though at first no one was. Sometimes the baby would wake up and start crying just as Eber was in the middle of recording. When that happened, she would huff in annoyance and pick up her daughter to calm her, trying not to lose her patience. Shh, shh. It is okay, darling, she would coo. Though a part of her was frustrated at the interruption. Once the baby was settled again, propped with a bottle or a neighbor who offered to watch her for a bit, Eber would rush back to her phone. Her neighbor, an elderly woman named Mama Ifoma, noticed Eber and the growing preoccupation, why she adored the baby and didn't mind helping. She wondered why the baby's mother was suddenly so busy with that phone business. One day, as she returned the baby after an hour of babysitting, she gently asked, "My dear, hope everything is alright. I see you with your phone every day now. Is it work you are doing or is there something else?" "Oh yes, something like that," Eber replied with an easy laugh, waving a hand as though it was nothing. "I'm just trying a little business online. Mama, selling things on Facebook." But it was a lie. She wasn't selling anything, but she didn't want to admit she was chasing internet fame. The old woman nodded knowingly and handed the baby back, reminding Eber to bring the little one over anytime. Eber felt a tiny pang of guilt for lying to the kind woman, but she brushed it aside. In her mind, she had a mission now. She had started posting some of her videos and pictures on social media. At first, not many people watched, just a few of her old schoolmates and cousins who left polite comments like, "Nice one," or a thumbs up emoji. However, one evening, she decided to do a live stream on Facebook to talk about her life and share some tips on beauty, imitating what she had seen popular vloggers do. She sat on her couch after tidying the background and used the front camera to broadcast live. "Hello everyone," she greeted, wiggling her fingers at the camera in a wave and flashing her most charming smile. Only a handful of viewers were watching at the start, but as the minute passed, a few more joined out of curiosity. Encouraged, Eber became more animated. "My name is Eber, and I am so excited to talk to you all. Today, I want to share how I keep my skin glowing and my life happy as a young mom, she said brightly. It was a bold claim. At that moment, her baby was actually frozen in her lap, and she felt anything but perfectly happy. With one hand, she bounced the baby gently to keep her calm, and with the other, she held the phone up. A viewer asked in the comments, "Your baby is so cute. How old is she?" "She's a year old," Eber answered with a proud smile, and then added a little white lie without thinking twice. "We named her Miracle because she's such a blessing to us." In reality, her baby's name was Adobe, after Samson's grandmother, but Miracle sounded catchy and dramatic, good for getting attention. The live stream continued for about 15 minutes, with Eber throwing in tiny lies to spice up her story. She claimed that Sam had recently gotten a promotion. He had not. He was still at the same job, and that he surprised her with expensive skincare products for her birthday. In truth, he bought her a simple cake and a lovely card, which she had cherished at that time. She even hinted that they were planning an international vacation soon, laughing as if she's excited. "We might travel to Dubai or somewhere special," she gushed, though they had no such plans and barely any savings even for a local trip. When Sam returned home that evening, tired and dusty from work, he found the house unusually quiet. Typically, when he opened the door, he would smell dinner cooking or hear the baby's laughter. This time, there was no aroma, no giggling, just silence, except for a faint sound of Ebere's voice talking softly. Concerned, he quickly slipped off his moody boots outside and stepped in. Inside, he saw Ebere sitting on the couch, the baby in her arms, talking into her phone. It looked like she was on a video call. The baby was awake but calm only because Ebere was gently patting her while speaking to the screen. Sam stood at the doorway of the living room, catching a bit of his wife's conversation. "Yes, motherhood is so challenging, but we are managing well," she was saying in an unnatural, cheaper tone. "My husband works so hard and still helps out with the baby. In fact, he just got back from an important business trip," she added, glancing up and seeing Sam at that exact moment. Sam's eyebrows shot up. Business trip? He had literally just come from a dusty construction site 15 kilometers away, not an international conference. He realized she was putting on some kind of show, and he cleared his throat as a sign for her to wrap it up. Hearing Sam, Eber jumped slightly. Excuse me everyone, I have to go now. Duty calls," she said quickly into the phone. "Thank you all for joining me. Bye." She ended the live stream, her face a mix of relief and nervousness. Putting the phone aside, she looked up at Sam with a forced bright smile. "Welcome home, honey," she said, as if everything was perfectly normal. Sam walked in slowly, eyeing the cold, empty kitchen area, and then the baby's face, which had dried tear marks on her cheeks, as if she had been crying not long ago. He gently took the baby from her arms and kissed the little one's forehead. The baby goggled happily now that Daddy was holding her. "How was work?" Eber asked, standing up and smoothing her dress, trying to act casual. "It was fine," Sam replied quietly, still observing his wife. She seemed jittery. Are you feeling alright?" "How was your day?" he asked. "Oh, it was good. You know, the usual, just taking care of the baby and tidying up," she said quickly. I tried a new recipe for lunch, and I was just catching up with some old friends on video chat when you came in." Sam knew she wasn't being entirely truthful. He wasn't sure what exactly she was doing, but he had a hunch it was that Facebook Live thing he heard her mention before. He decided not to confront her in front of the baby. Instead, he nodded slowly. "All right, I'll go wash up." As she turned, he added in a gentle but tired voice, "I didn't smell any cooking. Is there anything to eat? I can make something if you didn't have time." He was giving her an easy way out, hoping she would admit she hadn't cooked yet because she was busy. But instead of admitting it, Eber quickly said, "Oh, I was just about to start dinner. Why don't you rest a bit and play with the baby? I will whip up something delicious now." Sam sighed as he carried his daughter to a chair. He watched as Eber hurried to the kitchen and started clanging pots, clearly rushing to get dinner going at this late hour. He loved his wife, but he could not shake the feeling that something was off. Why was she lying about small things like what she did during the day, or about a business trip he never took? And why did she seem so distracted all the time? He suspected that her fascination with social media was getting out of hand, but he hoped it was just a phase. That night, after they ate the quickly thrown together dinner of jollof rice and fried plantains, Sam decided to gently bring up the topic. The baby was asleep in her crib after much fuss, and they finally had a quiet moment to themselves. Eber was scrolling on her phone even as they sat in the bed, the screen's light illuminating her face in the darkness. Sam cleared his throat softly. "Sweetheart," he began, choosing his words carefully. You've been spending a lot of time on the phone lately." "Eh?" Eber responded, not really listening. He continued, "I'm a bit worried. You are not as present as you used to be. Is everything okay? Are you feeling lonely or bored?" That got her attention a bit. She set the phone down on her lap and looked at him. "I'm fine, Sam. I'm just trying to, build something for myself. I see so many opportunities online. People are making money and getting famous. I thought maybe I could do that too. For the family." Her tone had a defensive edge, as if expecting him to dismiss her ideas. Sam reached out and covered her hand with his. "I understand wanting to earn something or being productive, especially since you stay at home. But I just worry about the baby. Today when I came back, it looked like she had been crying for a while. And you looked stressed. Did something happen?" "She was just a little fussy, that's all," Eber said, shrugging. She didn't mention that she had let the baby cry a bit longer than usual because she was trying to finish her live video. "Babies cry. It's normal." True, Sam nodded. He paused and gently added, "I just want to make sure she's not being neglected and that you are not overwhelming yourself." "I'm not neglecting her," Eber snapped suddenly, then immediately softened her voice. "I mean, I would never do that. I love our daughter. I'm doing my best here. Sam, it's not easy staying home all day." Her eyes glistened with a hint of tears now, feeling accused even though Sam's tone had been gentle. Sam squeezed her hand. "Hey, I know. I'm not accusing you of anything. I truly appreciate all you do for her. And for me, I just miss the way things were before. You seemed happier then, that's all. Lately, you seem, I don't know, more anxious." "I'm fine," she insisted, wiping her eyes and forcing a smile. "Maybe I'm just excited. You will see. One day, I will make us proud with this online stuff. I could even start earning money from it. There are ladies who get paid to advertise products or get thousands of dollars in donations. Imagine what that could do for us. We could finally buy our own house, or at least get a better car for you." Their current car was an old second-hand sedan that frequently broke down. Sam didn't want a better car if it meant losing his wife to some internet fantasy. He sighed, deciding to drop the subject for now. "All right, as long as you and baby are okay. That's what matters to me. Just promise me you won't let the internet thing take over your life." "I promise," said Eber quickly, eager to end the conversation. She leaned over and gave a peck on the cheek. "Let's sleep. You have work early, and I have a busy day too." With the baby and all. In her mind, she was already planning tomorrow's content, thinking of what story to tell in her next live stream to get more viewers. Sam turned off the beside lamp and lay in the dark, his wife's back facing him as she had already turned to check her phone one more time before sleep. He stared at the ceiling and wondered if he was overreacting. Maybe she really would find some success online. Who was he to crush her dreams if it made her happy? Still, a knot of worry sat in his chest. He tried to convince himself it would all be alright. Soon, her breath fell into the slow rhythm of sleep, but Sam remained awake for a while, listening to the crickets outside and the soft snores of his baby in the crib, praying silently, "Let my family be safe and happy." After some time, he too drifted off into an uneasy sleep. The days turned into weeks, and Eber's online presence slowly grew. She created accounts on Instagram and TikTok in addition to her Facebook page, eager to expand her reach. Her content also evolved. She posted short videos of herself doing popular dance challenge, took carefully posed selfies with flattering filters, and even made humorous skits about daily life as a young mother, conveniently glossing over the less photogenic realities like dirty diapers and sleepless nights. Some of these attempts were genuinely funny. Once, she recorded herself trying to exercise with the baby strapped to her back, and it turned into a comic disaster when the baby started wailing and pulling her hair. She posted it with the caption, "When you try to be a fit mom, but your baby has other plans." The video got more views than her usual post, and she was delighted by the small taste of viral attention. With that minor success, Eber started to push the boundaries of truth more in her quest for popularity. On one Instagram post, she posed in front of a large, beautiful house in the nicest part of their town, pretending it was her own home. She had taken the baby along for a walk and stopped by that house solely to use it as a backdrop. With the camera angled just so, she captured a selfie that included the mansion's impressive front door and her smiling face. She captioned it, "Home sweet home, feeling blessed to living in luxury. #thankful, #blessed." The likes and comments rolled in, many from acquaintances who were astonished and wondered if she had secretly become wealthy. One old school friend commented, "Wow, girl, is this your house? Amazing." To which Ebele replied, "We thank God though, hard work pays." Of course, the house wasn't hers at all. In reality, she still went back to her house. But when she looked at that post, she felt a strange mix of pride and guilt. Pride because people were finally seeing her as someone who had made it, and guilt because, deep down, she knew it was a lie. She quickly brushed the guilt aside. After all, it was just a harmless little show. Everyone fakes it online a little, right? Her lies became bolder with each passing week. During one live stream, she boasted about owning a fancy designer handbag that she didn't actually have. She had seen an influencer flaunt a Louis Vuitton purse. So Eber found a picture of a similar bag online and showed it on her phone camera, claiming, "This is my favorite handbag. Sam got it for me on our anniversary." In truth, Sam had only gifted her a simple but heartfelt present, a framed family photo of the three of them that he had saved up for. She had hugged him and cried tears of joy that day, cherishing the thoughtful gift. But now, in front of a live audience, that sincere memory was replaced with a materialistic lie to make herself seem more glamorous. But in reality, Sam continued to be the same devoted husband and father. He noticed that these days, whenever he recounted stories from work or talked about local news, Eber seemed uninterested or distracted. The only time she really lit up was when she talked about something she saw on social media or the handful of compliments she received online. She often pestered him to take photos of her and the baby whenever they went out, urging him to get the right angle or make sure to capture the whole outfit. Sam complied patiently, though he didn't fully understand why she suddenly needed so many pictures. If it made her happy, he was willing to humor her up to a point. One evening, a few months later, Sam came home from work with some important news. He had been offered a chance to lead a short-time engineering project in another state. It was a good opportunity that might even come with a raise, and he was excited to prove himself. However, it meant he would have to be away from home for a while. At the dinner table, picking at a plate of yam and vegetable stew, he explained the situation to Eber. "They want me to supervise the construction of a new bridge in River State," he told her. "It's a big deal, honey. If I do well, it could open doors for a promotion." His eyes were shining with hope. It was the kind of break he had been praying for, one that could improve their finances. "That's wonderful," Eber said, but her tone was only politely happy. She was distractedly checking something on her phone under the table. In truth, she felt a twinge of irritation. If Sam went away for a couple of months, she would be stuck here, alone with the baby all day, every day. Who would help her take photos or watch the baby when she wanted to make videos? She also worried that it would slow down her budding online ventures. She liked having Sam around as a safety net and occasional assistant. Sam noticed her lukewarm reaction and gently reached out to tilt her chin up. So she looked at him instead of her screen. "Hey, this is for us. For the family. I wouldn't go if it wasn't important," he said softly. "I'll miss you and our little girl every single day. But it is a sacrifice for a short time. My friend Chid lives in Port Harcourt, not too far from where I'll be. He promised to keep an eye on me and make sure I don't work myself to death," he joked, trying to lighten the mood. Eber forced a more genuine smile and squeezed his hand. "I know. I am happy for you. Really. I'm just worried about managing everything alone. That's all." "You won't be alone," Sam reassured her. "My mother and my sister both offered to come stay for a few days at a time to help with the baby when they can. And there is Mama Ifoma next door. She's always ready to lend a hand. I'll call every day. And I will only be gone for maybe 6 or 8 weeks." She nodded and took a deep breath. "You are right. I'm sorry. I'm just a little anxious, but we'll be fine." Deep down, a part of her thought perhaps this could be a chance as well. Without Sam around, she wouldn't feel as self-conscious during her videos and live streams. She could spend more time on them without anyone judging her or asking questions. In a strange way, Sam's absence might give her the freedom to really chase her online dreams full force. The day Sam left for the project, he packed a suitcase and kissed his wife and baby goodbye at the bus station. He decided to take a bus to save money, enduring a long overnight journey. As he boarded, he held the baby one last time, hugging her tight. The little girl tugged at his bed and babbled, "Papa will be back soon, my princess. Be good to Mama, okay?" He gave her back to Eber, who cradled the child on her hip. "Take care of yourself and call me when you arrive," Eber said. She felt an unexpected pang of sadness watching him go. He truly was the pillar of their family. He looked worried as he gazed at her and the baby. "I will. And please, take care of yourself too. Don't stress too much. And remember to give attention to our little girl. She needs you." His eyes conveyed a deeper message. He was entrusting her with their most precious treasure, hoping she would prioritize the baby over everything. "I will, I promise," she assured him. They embraced. He smelt of the aftershave she had bought him last Christmas and for a moment, Ebere felt safe in his arms, like she used to before all this social media obsession. Her eyes moistened with tears she hadn't expected. "We'll miss you," she whispered. "I'll miss you both more," Sam said, his own throat tight. He pulled away reluctantly and boarded the old white bus. Ebere stood there waving, the baby in her arms waving a tiny hand too, mostly because she was imitating her mother. Sam found a window seat and pressed his palm to the glass, smiling at them. As the bus pulled out with a belch of black smoke, she stayed until it turned the corner and disappeared. Walking back home, Eber felt a strange mix of emotions: sadness from saying goodbye, relief that she would have the house to herself, and a spark of excitement for what she might accomplish online in the coming weeks. At first, things went smoothly. Sam called every night as promised. Sometimes they video chatted so he could see her and the baby. During those calls, she kept things positive and never mentioned how much time she was spending on the internet. She would tell him about minor household news or something cute the baby did, and he would share updates about the bridge project. Even through the phone, his exhaustion was clear. Long days under the sun, dealing with concrete and steel. But he always asked, "How are you holding up? Are you doing okay?" And she will always answer cheerily, "We are fine, don't worry about us." In reality, without Sam's steadying presence, Ebere plunged deeper into her social media world. She found it much easier to devote herself to it now, after feeding baby and bathing the baby each morning. She would set her in a playpen or drop her off with Sam's mother, who visited often as arranged. Then Ebere would throw herself into content creation, choreographing new dance videos, staging pretty scenes to take photos, and live streaming almost every day. As she produced more content, her follower count inched upward. She now had a few hundred followers on TikTok and Instagram. Still small, but enough to make her feel like she was getting somewhere. Yet, the growth was painfully slow compared to her expectations. Why wasn't she blowing up like those other girls who seemed to skyrocket to fame? She was doing everything they did, posting regularly, engaging with comments, using popular music, even copying some of the trending skits. Impatient gnawed at her. Perhaps, she thought, the difference was equipment. Many influencers she followed mentioned having great cameras or ring lights. Some specifically raved about the latest iPhone and how its camera made their videos look super sharp and professional. That became the new object of her desire. Her current phone was a basic Android model, a couple of years old. It was decent for casual use but underperformed in low light, and the videos sometimes looked grainy. If only I had an iPhone, she found herself thinking more and more. She even looked up the prices and winced. An iPhone was expensive, more than what Sam earned in a month. There was no way she could have asked him to buy one, especially not now when he was away working so hard. And their savings were small, mostly kept aside for emergencies or the baby's needs. The obsession with getting better gear kept growing. Alongside her obsession with fame, she began to make mental lists of what she could possibly sell or do without to raise money. She considered selling her wedding jewelry. Nothing too fancy, but maybe it could fetch a little. She even considered secretly dipping into the small amounts of money Sam had left for household expenses. But she knew that was barely enough for food and diapers as it was. She remembered with a flush of shame how she once almost pawned the framed family photo Sam gave her, just because it had a nice frame that might be worth something. She didn't go through with it. Even she felt that was too cruel. Then one day, while scrolling online, Eber came across a story that seized her attention completely. It was a trending video of a woman in another country holding her sick child, pleading for help with medical bills. The post had gained hundreds of thousands of views, and people had donated generously to the family. There were messages of sympathy, prayers, and importantly, a lot of money raised. As she watched the tearful mother in the video, an idea began to form in the back of Eber's mind. At first, she pushed it aside. No, that would be too much, too risky. But over the next days, as her own content once again stagnated in reach, the idea came rolling back. What if she did something similar? Create an emotional video that would touch people's hearts so strongly that they couldn't help but share it and donate. In the age of social media, tragedy and sympathy could pull in views like nothing else. But what tragedy could she use? She thought about the people in her life. Everyone was thankfully healthy at that moment. That was a blessing. But if she were to fabricate a story, she needed a sick person. Her eyes fell on her baby girl playing on the mat with a rag doll. Immediately, she shook her head. No, no way. She muttered to herself. Exploiting her own child's well-being felt very wrong. But the seed was planted, and it kept sprouting little tempting buds of thought. You wouldn't say it's your baby, a sly voice in her mind whispered. You could say it's someone else's baby. Who would know? Just make her look a little different, just for the video. The rational part of her mind fought back. This is a terrible idea. If people find out the truth, you'll be in trouble, and everyone will hate you. But the desperate, fame-hungry part of her mind responded. But if it works, imagine the views, the followers, and the donations. It could solve so many problems. You could finally buy the iPhone. You could have enough money to move to a nicer place, or even to Lagos, the city of opportunities. The competing voices tortured her for a whole night. She hardly slept, tossing and turning next to her baby's crib as the baby slept peacefully, unaware of her mother's turmoil. By dawn, a steely resolve formed in Eber's heart. She would do it, but she would be careful. It was just a one-time thing to give her a boost. After that, she would use the fame to maybe start a genuine business or something. Yes, she reasoned. It was like a harmless acting job. She was going to perform a role and get paid for it. The baby would not be harmed. She would just appear in a video looking pitiful for a few minutes. That morning, with determination and nervous energy, Eber set the plan into motion. She dressed her daughter in an old threadbare cloth that the baby had long outgrown, which made the little girl look quite pitiable as it hung loose on her small frame. Then she took some of her own makeup, a bit of pale foundation, and lightly dabbed it on the baby's face to give her a sickly pallor. The baby screamed at the unfamiliar coldness on her cheeks, and Eber shushed her gently. Heart pounding, she wrapped a faded towel around the baby's head as a makeshift scarf and gently tied one of her own scarves around the baby's legs and hand to look like bandages. Looking at her handwork, Eber felt a punch in her chest. The baby did look ill, and it was a heartbreaking sight, even though she knew it was fake. Next, she rehearsed what she would say. She decided the story would be that this child belonged to a poor neighbor of hers, and that the child was very sick with a condition that required surgery. She, as a kind neighbor, was trying to help raise funds since the family could not afford it. This way, she thought, she wasn't lying about her own baby's health. She was just playing Good Samaritan for someone else. It felt a tad less horrible to frame it that way. She set up her phone against a stack of books to keep it steady and hit the record button. Then she picked up her daughter and sat on the floor, deliberately choosing a corner of her living room that looked plain and a bit shabby to add authenticity. With the camera recording, she began her performance. At first, the words stuck in her throat. She was about to tell a tale of suffering and she worried it wouldn't sound convincing. So she closed her eyes for a second and imagined what it would be like if her child truly were the sick one and she had no money. When she opened her eyes again, they were moist with real tears born from that horrible hypothetical thought. Please, please help us, she began, her voice trembling as she addressed the camera. This baby is not mine. She is my neighbor's child. Her name is Amara, and she's only 1 year old. She glanced at her daughter's face, which was looking up at her innocently. The baby, sensing her mother's distress, began to whine. Eber continued, her voice cracking. Amara is very sick. The doctor said she had a hole in her heart and needs surgery urgently. As she said this, she cradled her daughter closer, bouncing her gently as if to comfort the sick child. Her parents are poor farmers. They have nothing. We need 5 million naira for the surgery. She started to cry in earnest now, tears dripping down from her cheeks. Some of the tears were from genuine shame and fear, but she hoped anyone watching would interpret them as sorrow for the baby. I beg you all, anyone watching this, she sobbed, help us save little Amara's life. Even if you can only pray, please pray for her. If you can donate, no amount is too small. I don't know what else to do. We have tried everything. She felt the baby being uncomfortable, and to the camera, it looked like the child was weakly moving. Look at her. She is in pain. Eber added for effect, gently pinching the baby's side out of the camera's view to make her daughter let out a feeble wail. At that moment, with the baby's cry and her own tears flowing, Eber felt a surge of triumph. This was bound to touch hearts. Even she had been moved if she hadn't known the truth. She ended the recording by giving an account number. In truth, it was her own small bank account that she hardly used, but she presented it as the sick child's mother's account. She made sure to say thank you in advance and blessed all the kind souls who would help. After hitting stop, she sat there breathing hard, her face damp and her hands trembling. It had been an emotionally exhausting performance, and she had to take a few minutes to compose herself while the baby, sensing her mother's distress, started to truly cry for comfort. Dropping the act, Eber pulled off the scarf and towel, wiping the bit of makeup from her daughter's face and hugged her tightly. I am so sorry, my angel, she whispered, kissing her forehead. Mama loves you. Mama just needs to do this, okay? It will bring us a better life. The baby calmed down in her embrace, oblivious to the meaning of the words. Without giving herself a chance to overthink and lose courage, Eber uploaded the video on both her Facebook and TikTok accounts with the caption, Urgent help needed. My neighbor's baby will die if we don't raise 5 million naira for her heart surgery in 2 weeks. Please share and donate if you can. Hashtag save Amara. Then she waited. The next few hours were nerve-wracking. At first, there were only a few views and 1 or 2 comments like, oh no, God will heal her, and shared. I hope this helps. But then, as evening set in, the video started gaining traction. Someone with a large following had shared it, and then another. Comments began pouring in faster than she could read them. Praying for this child. Can I have the mom's number to reach out? One person wrote, I sent a little money. It's not much, but I hope it helps, said another. People were tagging others. Add a friend. See this. Can you help? And this is heartbreaking. I'm in tears. The view count kept going up. 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. In mere hours, her TikTok video had tens of thousands of views and was still climbing. Her follower count was exploding too. As many moved by the video decided to follow her page for updates on baby Amara's condition. In the whirlwind of notifications, Eber felt a mix of elation and panic. Elation because finally, she had gone viral. Panic because she realized the situation might spiral beyond what she anticipated. People were actually sending money. She kept checking the bank account and saw the balance climbing. It was only a few 100,000 naira within the few days. But that alone was more money than she had seen in a long time. Her heart pounded with a guilty thrill. She told herself she would use some of it to help someone, maybe donate a portion to a real charity, to ease her conscience. But she also knew she would definitely keep a chunk to buy that converted iPhone and perhaps move to a city like Lagos as she dreamed. After all, she reasoned, she needed to be in a city to truly chase social media fame. The village was too small, too limiting. Throughout that evening and the next days, she gave occasional updates online about Amara. She would post a somber text update like, Amara is holding on. We are praying for a miracle. Thank you all for your contribution so far. We've raised 500,000 naira. Still a long way to go, but we'll have faith. Hashtag save Amara. This kept the engagement up and touched further at people's heartstrings. What she did not realize was how quickly a lie can unravel in the age of the internet. In her village, people had started hearing about the viral video. Some saw it on Facebook and recognized that the woman pleading looked exactly like the young mother they knew, Eber. The baby in the video, despite the makeup and costuming, also looked an awful lot like Eber's own baby to those who had seen her up close. A concerned neighbor approached Mama Ifoma, the kind old woman next door, showing her the video on her phone. Isn't this your neighbor's daughter? I mean Eber's daughter? The neighbor asked. She says it's a neighbor's baby that is sick, but I thought her baby looks like this. Mama Ifoma watched the video with mounting horror. She had babysit that baby many times and would recognize her anywhere. This is Adobe, she said in a shaky voice, using the baby's real name. That's not a neighbor's baby, that's her own daughter. Why would she? Scandalized and worried, Mama Ifoma tried to call Eber, but got no answer. Likely because Eber was too busy riding the social media high or screening her calls. So the older woman decided to reach out to someone who could intervene, Sam's family. Before long, Sam's relatives were in the loop. A cousin who was active on social media had already come across the video and was worried sick, thinking the baby was truly ill and that the family was desperate for money. She shared it with an aunt, who then called Sam's mother in panic. What's going on? Is my grandchild sick? Why are strangers raising money? Why didn't anyone tell us? Sam's mother, confused and alarmed, tried to reach her son, but he was at the construction site, out of cell range for most of the day. Meanwhile, the information kept spreading among the extended family and community. By the time an uncle managed to get Sam on the phone later that evening, Sam was exhausted from work and completely clueless about the storm brewing at home. He answered, half asleep in his small rented room near the site. Hello, Sam. Thank God. I've been trying to reach you. His uncle's voice crackled through the line with urgency. Uncle, is everything okay? Sam sat up. Now, wide awake at the unusual late call. It's all about your wife and baby. There is a video online going viral. Your wife is crying and saying some baby needs surgery. People are saying it's your child. What is it about a hole in the heart? The uncle sounded perplexed and worried. What? A video? A hole in the heart? Sam swung his legs out of bed, now fully out of bed, and fully alert and alarmed. Uncle, I don't understand. My baby was fine when I left. She was also fine when I spoke to them yesterday. What video are you talking about? The uncle tried to explain, though he wasn't entirely sure either. It's all over Facebook and WhatsApp, even TikTok. She is asking for donations for a sick baby she claims is a neighbor's child. But the baby looks like yours. And people are saying it is Adobe, your daughter. We are all confused. Your mother is in tears, thinking the baby is secretly sick and we weren't told. Sam's heart raced and his mouth went dry. I will call you back, uncle, he said, hanging up. He immediately pulled up Facebook on his phone. A sinking feeling in his stomach. It wasn't hard to find. As soon as he opened it, there it was, shared by multiple contacts. A video of Eber, tears streaming down her face, cradling their baby who looked strongly pale and forlorn. The caption about a heart surgery fund hit him like a punch to the gut. He watched in dismay as his wife lied through her teeth on the video. The shock and confusion quickly turned to anger. What was she thinking? Using their child in this way, deceiving everyone? It was not only cruel but dangerous. If someone discovered the truth, it could bring backlash, even legal trouble. As he processed the betrayal and the reckless behavior, Sam's phone lit up with another call. This time, it was from his mother. He answered with a heavy heart. Mama, he started. Sam, what is going on? Is my granddaughter all right? Why would Eber say such things? I'm so confused. I've been worried sick. His mother's voice was trembling. Mama, I honestly don't know what is going on either. Sam replied truthfully, running a hand over his face. He realized he had to contain this before it got worse. But I will find out right now. I'm going to call Eber. Don't worry. I'm sure the baby is fine. I think maybe this is some kind of mistake or a scheme. He hated to even say the latter, but it seemed likely. Please, call her, his mother urged, and call me back. Should I travel to Onitsha to visit them? Not yet, Mama. Let me speak to her first. I'll call you back. He ended the call and immediately dialed his wife, his hands shaking with anger and worry. Back in Onitsha, at that exact moment, Eber was riding a wave of mixed emotions. The donations had slowed down, but were still trickling in. She had raised nearly ₦1 million in total from kind strangers online. Her follower count had ballooned into the thousands. But along with the positive comments, some skeptical voices had appeared on her post, asking questions like, which hospital is the baby in? Can we visit? Or why hasn't the mother spoken out? Why only the neighbor? These questions made her nervous. She had tried to deflect them by saying the family was very shy and private, and that the baby was at home receiving care because the hospital discharged her due to bills. Another lie to sound plausible. She was actually considering taking down the video soon, thinking she had gotten as much out of it as she reasonably could without drawing too much suspicion. She planned that in a day or two, she would announce sadly that Amara had passed away despite efforts. That would both gain sympathy and put a natural end to the fundraiser. Yes, that seemed like the cleanest exit strategy. However, in her contemplation, She hadn't checked her phone for personal calls or messages. So when it started ringing loudly that evening, she jolted from her thought. It was Sam calling. She froze, panic flashing through her. Did he know? He must know. Why else would he call at this odd hour instead of their usual scheduled time? Her heart hammered. She debated not answering, but he would only worry more or possibly call someone else. Taking a deep breath, she picked up and tried to sound normal. Hello, honey. How are you? Is everything okay? She said, forcing brightness into her tone. The voice that came through was tight and angry, barely controlled. Eber, what have you done? Her first smile fell, and her stomach clenched. So he did know. What do you mean? She asked, stalling. Don't play games with me. Sam nearly growled. I saw the video. Everyone has seen the video. How could you use our daughter like that? Have you lost your mind? Her temper flared at the scolding tone. She felt caught. Yes, but instead of apologizing, she immediately went on the defensive. So what if I made a video? She snapped. I did it for a good reason. We needed money. In case you haven't noticed. And it's working. People are helping. Helping? Sam repeated in disbelief. They are helping a child they believe is dying. And that child is not dying. And she's not your neighbor's child. She's ours. You are scamming people's kindness, Eber. This is fraud. It's not just some mindless stunt. Don't you dare call me a fraud. She shot back, her voice rising. She got up and started pacing the small living room. Baby Adobe playing on the floor, unaware of the tension. I am doing what I have to do to get us ahead. Since you can't provide the luxury life I want, I found a way myself. Sam was silent for a second, stunned by her bluntness. When he spoke again, his voice was colder, hot. The luxury life you want, Eber. We had food. We had shelter. We had each other. Is that not enough? We could work toward more, but not by cheating and lying. What happened to you? This isn't the woman I married. Oh, spare me the lectures. She spat. The woman you married woke up. She realized love and fresh air don't pay the bills or buy an iPhone. The word flew out of her mouth thoughtlessly, revealing what was on her mind. Do you even know how embarrassing it is to use this old phone while trying to compete with all those girls out there? They are all using iPhones and you left me here with nothing. Her voice cracked with the resentment that had built up inside her. I left you with nothing? Sam echoed, deeply offended. What about the money I sent every week for expenses? What about the roof over your head and the food on your table? I've been breaking my back at this job to provide for you and our daughter. And you say I left you with nothing? And since when is an iPhone more important than feeding our child or being honest? You just don't understand, do you? She cried, tears of frustration welling up. You don't see how people look at me online, how they admire me when they think I have things. You want me to just sit here and be content. But I want more. Sam, I deserve more. The only thing you deserve right now is a serious reality check, Sam said in a harsh tone. You are neglecting our daughter for this fake life. Do you even hear yourself? You put makeup on a baby's face and lie that she's dying for what? For what exactly? For a phone and fame. That is beyond unacceptable. It is cruel. If you needed something, you would have just asked me or our family. We might not be rich, but we are not destitute. Why humiliate us like this, eh? Why? Humiliate? The only one feeling humiliated here is you, she accused bitterly. Because you can't control me or because I'm actually succeeding at something on my own. You are jealous. I have thousands of people watching me now, showering me with support, while you are off doing some dusty bridge work. Sam felt like he had been slapped. Jealous? Of what exactly? A lie? Eber, this will not end well. People will find out the truth if they haven't already. Our family knows, yes. They know it's our baby. Do you have any idea the kind of shame and trouble this can bring? I am begging you, take down that video right now and return any money you've collected. You have to stop this. I'm not taking anything down, she said defiantly. I know how to handle it. Once I have what I need, I'll stop. Why are you always trying to stop me? Why can't you just support me for once, Sam? I'm doing this for us, for a better future. But even as she said it, a part of her knew she was lying to herself. It wasn't really for Sam or the family. It was for her own ego. But she couldn't admit that. Don't twist this, Eber. This is not for us, he replied, as if reading her mind. It's for you and your pride. I can't let you do this to our own child. To innocent strangers who think they are helping a sick baby. If you won't stop it, I will have to take action. I might have to call the police or something to intervene before it gets worse. That threat made her see red. You wouldn't dare. She screamed into the phone, making baby Adobe jump onto the floor and start crying at the sudden loud noise. You would betray your own wife to strangers. You would have me arrested, Sam. Over what? Some rich people's pocket change that they won't even miss. If it means protecting my child and doing the right thing, then yes, he said with a heavy heart. Please don't make me do that. Just end this right now. All I hear is you scolding me, judging me, she shouted. She picked up the now crying baby and bounced her on her hip, trying to soothe her distractedly. You have never believed in me from the start. You always looked at me like I was doing something wrong by wanting a better life. You are just not man enough to take care of me. That's the problem. The words came out before she could stop them, venomous and cruel. There was dead silence on the line. Even the baby quieted down as if sensing the gravity of that statement. In a low, hurtful voice that she could barely recognize as Sam's, he finally responded, Is that truly how you feel? Eber's anger was in full blaze and she didn't hold back. Yes, a real man would give his wife the world or at least support her effort to get it. Instead, you want me to sit here in this backward place, doing nothing but changing diapers and cooking your meals. I'm done living like that, Sam. If you can't give me what I want, I will get it myself. And I did. Look at how much I raised in just 2 days on my own. Her chest heaved after that tirade. She knew these words were harsh and unfair. Sam had done nothing but work hard and care for them. But her pride was wounded by his threats to call the authorities and by his disapproval. Sam let out a long shaky breath. I can't believe what I'm hearing, he said, voice full of sorrow. The woman I love would never say such things to me. You've changed, Eber. Or maybe I never really knew you. He sounded on the verge of tears or rage, or both. Eber felt a pang of doubt and pain hearing the hurt in his voice, but her own stubbornness wouldn't allow her to apologize or back down. Instead, she said coldly, Well, maybe you never knew me, and maybe I never knew what a disappointment you would turn out to be either. It was a low blow, but she spat it out. regretting it in an instant, yet unable to take it back. I have to go, Sam said abruptly. If you won't listen to reason, I need to think. But know this, when I get back, we are going to have a serious talk. And if you have hurt our child or put her in danger with this stunt, so help me God. He didn't finish the sentence. Instead, just hanging up.
The moment the call disconnected, the house seemed very silent, save for a soft whimper from Adobe, who was rubbing her eyes, distressed by the shouting. Tears of fury and fear brimmed in Eber's eyes as she sank onto the couch holding her daughter. She felt shaken by the argument, by the threats, by the ugly words they had flung at each other. For a moment, she considered that maybe she had gone too far. But then, her phone buzzed with another notification. Someone had sent more money along with a message of encouragement. And in her troubled heart, pride and triumph once again drowned out the guilt and doubt. It's too late to turn back now, she whispered to herself. I'll prove him wrong. I will prove them all wrong. Furious and defiant, she began planning her next moves. Sam was coming back soon, and he was obviously against her plans. She worried he might actually follow through on his threat to involve police or confront her publicly. She decided she couldn't face that. If he was going to try to stop her, then she would leave before he could. She would take her newfound fame and money and go somewhere he wouldn't be able to hold her back. In a haze of anger and determination, Eber packed a suitcase that very night. She moved around quietly so as not to alarm the neighbors, especially since some already suspected her deceit. She didn't plan on taking much, just her clothes, a few personal items, and crucially, she tucked the ATM card tied to the account that had received all the donations in her wallet. As for her baby, her precious little girl, in that moment, twisted by her single-minded pursuit, Eber convinced herself that the baby would only slow her down right now. Just for now, she thought, I would go and establish myself. I will send for her later when I'm rich and stable in the city. She can stay with someone safe for a short time. It sounded logical in her mind, but it was essentially an excuse to abandon her child for the sake of her ambitions. She knew exactly who to leave the baby with temporarily. Her trusted neighbor, Mama Ifeoma, the one person who had always doted on her daughter. True, after that viral video stunt, Mama Ifeoma had been upset and tried to contact her. But if Eber showed up at her door needing help, the kind woman would likely accept for the baby's sake. Late that night, under the cover of darkness, Eber gently scooped up her sleeping daughter, wrapped her in a soft blanket, and tiptoed next door. Her suitcase sat by her own front door, ready to go. She knocked softly on the neighbor's door, heart pounding. After a moment, a light came on and the door creaked open a few inches. A weary voice asked, "Who is it?" "It's me, Auntie. It's Eber," she whispered. When the door opened fully, it revealed a tired-looking Mama Ifeoma in her night dress, holding a kerosene lamp. The old woman's eyes widened when she saw Eber standing there with the baby in her arms. "What is it? Is everything all right?" she asked, concern lacing her voice. I'm so sorry to disturb you at this hour," Eber said, trying to sound pitiful and urgent. I have an emergency. My cousin in Lagos just had an accident and there is no one to help her. I need to rush there to assist, just for a week or two. Can you please watch Adobe for me? Please, I don't have anyone else to turn to and I can't take her on such a long journey. So sudden. The lies rolled out smoothly. By now, lying had become second nature. Mama Ifeoma looked at her for a long moment. The lamplight flickered between them. She was no fool. She had seen the video and sensed that something was off with this girl lately. Yet, she also had a soft spot for the innocent baby. "You are going to Lagos now?" In the middle of the night, the old woman asked, suspicion evident in her tone. "The first bus in the morning. I have to go early to reach there in time," Eber explained quickly. "I'm packing right now. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't urgent. I promise I'll be back as soon as I can." The baby stirred in her arms and whimpered, as if protesting the situation even in sleep. Mama Ifeoma's face softened at the sound. She reached out and gently touched the baby's cheek. "Poor child. All right, I will take her, but only if you promise to come back in 2 days' time as you said. You hear me?" She fixed a stern caring gaze on Eber. "This little one needs her mother." A pang shot through Eber's heart, but she nodded vigorously. "I promise, Auntie. Thank you so much. I'll never forget this." She carefully transferred the warm bundle of her daughter into the old woman's arms. The baby fused a little, feeling the change of holder, but then settled against the neighbor's comforting familiar embrace. "I've left enough baby food and clothes in her bag," Eber said, handing over a diaper bag she had prepared. "If you need anything, you can call me." She rattled off a new phone number. She had bought a new SIM card earlier that day as part of her plan, thinking it might be wise to have a fresh number once she moved, particularly if angry donors or even police tried to contact her old one. Mama Ifeoma looked at the scrap of paper with the number, then back at the young mother. "God be with you, and with this child," she said quietly. "Go and come back quickly and safely." There was a trace of reproach in her voice, but also an understanding that emergencies happen. "God bless you," Eber whispered, feeling a lump in her throat. She leaned forward and kissed her baby's forehead softly. The child smelled of milk and baby powder, a heart-achingly sweet scent that Eber tried to memorize. Was she really doing this, leaving her baby behind? She steeled herself. It's for her future too, she thought. With one last look, she turned and hurried back to her house before her resolve could crumble. Within the hour, as the first hint of dawn glowed on the horizon, a taxi van honked quietly outside her house. She had called for it to take her to the main bus park. The driver helped load her single suitcase. As she climbed in, she looked out one last time at the familiar row of small houses. This place had been her home, where her daughter took her first steps, where her husband's laughter used to fill their evenings. It should have been hard to leave, but right now, anger and the allure of a new life propelled her forward. The taxi drove off, and by morning, as the town roasters crowed and neighbors slowly realized the news of her sudden departure, Eber was already on a bus heading to Lagos. Her heart a mix of excitement, bitterness, and anxiety. She had done it. She had sold almost all their household belongings the previous afternoon to quickly gather cash. The TV, the fridge, even the nicer pieces of furniture, all sold off to a trader who paid in cash, though at a fraction of their value, giving her rush. She didn't care. It was enough to get her on her way. Tucked in her purse was a wad of naira bills from those sales, plus the bank card with the donation money. Her cheap old phone was switched off, replaced by a new phone she intended to buy first thing in the morning. She was leaving behind the old life of limitations and sailing straight toward the promise of fame and the fortune that the big city offered. As the bus rumbled along the highway, Eber looked out at the passing scenery with determined eyes. In her mind, she imagined a grand future, herself dressed in a designer clothes, attending parties with famous people, her social media booming with millions of followers, maybe even hosting her own show one day. She imagined Sam watching her on the TV or online, regretting how he had doubted her. He will see, she thought to herself, with a mix of vindication and sadness. They will all see. I will rise so high, and then they will wish they treated me better. But beneath all those shiny fantasies, a small voice of conscience asked, at what cost? She pushed that voice down, choosing not to answer. For now, she would focus on the road ahead and not look back at the mess she had left behind. When morning arrived in Onitsha and the news of Ebere's abrupt departure spread, there was a mix of outrage, confusion, and concern among those who knew the family. Some couldn't believe a mother would leave her child behind like that. Others shook their heads sadly, muttering about the dangers of this new internet craze. The neighbors comforted little Adaobi as best as they could. And Mama Ifeoma, despite her disappointment in Ebere, remained vigilant, caring for the baby with all the tenderness she could offer. Meanwhile, on a rickety bus hurtling down a highway hundreds of kilometers away, Sam was on his way back home. After the explosive phone call with his wife, he hadn't slept a wink. He tried calling her again an hour later, but her phone was switched off. Fearful and desperate, he had approached his supervisor that same night and explained that he had a family emergency. Fortunately, his employer valued him and, seeing his distressed state, allowed him to take leave at once. Sam caught the first available transport into the middle of the night, a long bus ride that felt excruciatingly slow as his mind swelled with worst-case scenarios. All he wanted was to see his daughter and ensure she was safe. And if he was honest with himself, a part of him still hoped to salvage things with Ebere, to understand what drove her to this madness and see if anything remained of the woman he loved. But that hope was faint and flickering. By the time Sam's bus reached the outskirts of Onitsha in the late afternoon, a heavy rain was falling. He jumped off at the junction and hired a motorcycle to take him straight to his house, not even bothering to stop anywhere else. The motorcycle sloshed through muddy puddles along the familiar roads, and as they neared his home, Sam's heart pounded faster. He prayed under his breath, "Please, God, let my daughter be all right. Let this just be a nightmare I can wake up from." He arrived to find the gate of his compound open. The little compound was strangely empty. Where was the clothesline full of baby's clothes? Where were the potted plants Ebere kept? He paid the motorcyclist and rushed inside the compound. Unlocking the front door with his key, he stepped into their house and froze. The living room was nearly bare. The couch was gone. The TV was gone. Even the curtains had been taken down. It looked as if the house had been burglarized. But deep down, he knew the truth. Ebere had sold everything. The emptiness of the house echoed the emptiness growing in his chest. He ran into the bedroom. Similarly, it was stripped of any valuable. Only the old bed frame, too bulky to sell quickly, remained. The mattress without its bedding. The wardrobe doors hung open. He could see that most of her clothes were gone, along with the suitcase. And then, the most important thing, no sign of his daughter. He frantically called out, "Ada! Adaobi!" Knowing she was too young to answer, but praying she might toddle out of some hiding spot. The house was silent, except for the rain pattering on the roof. In a panic, Sam dashed back outside, barely remembering to close the door. He ran across to Mama Ifeoma's house next door, slipping on the wet grass in the haste. He banged on her door, his heart in his throat. The door opened, and there stood the elderly neighbor with the baby in her arms. The sight of his little girl, safe and sound, nearly buckled Sam's knees. Relief and anguish collided inside him. Mama, thank you. Oh, thank God, he gasped, reaching out for his daughter. Mama Ifoma quickly handed the child over, and Sam hugged the baby tightly to his chest. Adobe, confused by the sudden commotion, started crying for a moment, then recognized her father's familiar scent and warmth. She snuggled into him, her cries turning to soft whimpers. She's all right, Sam, the older woman said gently, putting a hand on his shoulder. She's all right. I have her. Sam's eyes were wet, though one couldn't tell if it was rain or tears. Thank you. Thank you so much, he choked out. He stepped under the shelter of the porch so the baby wouldn't get more wet, and he kissed her forehead over and over. Daddy is here now. It's okay, my princess. I'm here. Inside the neighbor's sitting room, Sam sat down on a stool, still cradling his daughter, while Mama Ifoma handed him a towel to dry off. The baby clung to him, calming down. The old woman looked at the young father with a mixture of sympathy and disappointment. She told me some story about a cousin in an accident, Mama Ifoma explained. I knew it didn't sound quite right, but she begged me to watch the baby. Next thing I hear, she's gone. And after that video she made, I don't know what got into her, my son. She shook her head sadly. Sam shut his eyes tightly, anger and sorrow filling him. I'm sorry she dragged you into this mess, Ma. I'm sorry you had to be troubled. It's the child I was worried for, she replied. I'm glad you came back so quickly. What will you do now? He looked down at his daughter's innocent face. She looked up at him with big eyes, perhaps sensing his sadness, and she reached a tiny hand up to pat his cheek. It was something she had seen her mother do once when he was upset, a tender gesture that broke him. A sob escaped before he could stop it. Ashamed of breaking down in front of the neighbor, he quickly composed himself as best as he could. In a hoarse voice, he answered, I will take care of my daughter. That's all I can do for now. We will go to my mother's house tonight. His mother lived in a nearby town. That seemed the safest place to go and gather his thoughts. He stood up, thanking the neighbor once again. She hugged them both and whispered, Be strong. God will guide you. And please, don't be too harsh on your wife when you find her. Something is wrong with her. She needs help. Sam nodded, but deep inside, he didn't know if he could ever look at Eber again without anger or hurt. He walked back into his house, carrying the baby, to see if anything was salvageable. The emptiness of the rooms felt like a punch to his gut each time he looked around. It was not the loss of the items that hurt. Those were just things. It was the loss of trust, the betrayal, the abandonment. He found that she had even sold the new microwave he had bought for her for Christmas and the nice stroller for the baby. She truly had taken everything of value and left. As he gathered a few remaining baby supplies and some of his clothes, which she mercifully hadn't bothered to sell, Sam spotted the framed family photo he had gifted her on their anniversary. It was lying face down in a corner. The glass cracked. He picked it up and saw their smiling faces from happier days. The baby was only a month old in the picture, tiny and nestled in their arms. Both he and Eber beaming with joy and hope for the future. The glass had a jagged spider web cracked over Eber's image, splitting her face into two. It was an airy metaphor. With a heavy sigh, he set the photo down gently on the bare floor. He couldn't bring himself to take it with him, not now. Perhaps one day he might want it as a memory, or maybe not. A few neighbors peeked in through the open door, offering quiet words of support and sympathy as he prepared to leave. One even helped him carry a small bag to the car that his uncle had brought upon hearing Sam was on the way. The uncle had driven down to pick them up as soon as he heard of the situation. Soon, Sam and his daughter were on their way to his mother's house, leaving behind the shell of what used to be their home. In the days that followed, Sam had to piece together what remained of his life. He filed a report about the incident with the local authorities, not necessarily to hunt down his wife, but to document the fraudulent fundraiser and ensure no one came after him for it. He publicly announced through a statement his cousin posted on Facebook that the fundraiser had been a scam and that any remaining money would be returned or donated to a legitimate charity. It caused quite a stir online. Some people were furious at being deceived. Others felt deep pity for Sam and the baby. And still others spewed hateful comments about Eber. Sam tried not to read any of it. His heart was already broken and he didn't want to fuel his anger further by seeing the public's judgment of his wife. He handed over whatever funds he could from the scam to the local church and hospital, figuring that at least it would do some good. Through it all, he cared for his daughter like a hawk. Under his mother's guidance, he learned to do all the things that Eber used to handle, braiding the tiny coil of the baby's hair, preparing formula and soft foods, and even lulling her to sleep with lullabies. Late at night, exhaustion would hit him and he would sometimes cry silently, mourning the loss of the family life he had dreamed of and worrying how he would raise this child alone. But each morning, his daughter's bright eyes gave him renewed purpose. One day, about a month after the incident, Sam received a call from an old friend, Emeka, who lived in Abuja. Emeka worked with a large construction and engineering firm and had heard through the grapevine about Sam's troubles. He offered a lifeline. A position in his firm had opened up and he could put in a recommendation for Sam. It was a good job with a significantly higher salary, but it meant relocating to Abuja, the bustling city capital of Nigeria. At first, Sam was hesitant. Moving to a big city with a small child and no support structure would be hard, and it was far from his extended family. But as he looked around at his life, he was staying in his mother's spare room and working odd jobs since leaving the bridge project. He realized this could be the fresh start he needed. Abuja also held fewer memories of Eber, making it easier to move on. After discussing it with his mother and praying over it, he decided to take the leap. Within a few weeks, Sam had packed up their scant belongings, thanked his family for their help, and moved with his little girl to Abuja. The city welcomed him with open arms and busy days. The new job challenged him and kept him occupied, and his competence soon shone through. He poured his focus into work and his daughter, often burning the midnight oil after putting her to sleep, eager to prove himself. The years went by, and in that moment, life changed drastically for Sam. With dedication and the support of his friend turned colleague Emeka, he climbed the ranks in the engineering firm. His keen problem solving on projects and his integrity, something that became notable especially after people learned how honestly he had handled his wife's scandal, earned him the respect of higher ups. By the third year in Abuja, he was managing large projects and had saved enough to start his own small contracting business on the side. Little Adobe was growing too. She went from babbling toddler to curious preschooler to a bright girl in primary school. Sam doted on her, and despite his busy schedule, he made sure to always have time for her, helping with homework, taking her to the park on weekends, and reading her bedtime stories every night without fail. In many of those stories, the mother character, was curiously absent or vague, and Sam would feel a sting in his heart each time his daughter asked about her mommy. He always tried to respond gently, saying, "Mommy had to go away for a walk," or "Mommy loves you, but she's far away." He didn't know how to explain the truth of what happened, not yet. He hoped that perhaps one day, when she was older, he could find the right words. One fateful day, during the 5th year in Abuja, an opportunity came knocking that would elevate Sam's fortune beyond what he ever expected. The government was commissioning a massive infrastructure project, new roads, bridges, and drainage systems across several states, and they were looking for reputable contractors. Emeka, who was well connected in those circles, got wind of it and urged Sam to bid for a portion of the contract under his own company's name. Sam was hesitant. Winning a piece of such a big project was a long shot, and even if he did, executing it would be a tremendous responsibility. But with his friend's encouragement and an inner desire to truly secure his daughter's future, he put in a proposal highlighting his experience and track record. To his surprise, and to thanks to a combination of his company's solid bid and perhaps some divine favor, they won one of the sizable contracts. Suddenly, Sam found himself at the helm of a major project, with a fleet of employees and heavy machinery under his supervision. He tackled the challenge with the same integrity and hard work that had gotten him this far. The project was a resounding success. Not only did they complete it on time, but they did so under budget and with exemplary quality. This caught the attention of even bigger clients and investors. Over the 6th year, Sam's small firm transformed into a large construction company. Offers from new projects poured in. Investors sought him out to partner on real estate development. Money was no longer a problem. In fact, Sam found himself becoming a very wealthy man. His friend Emeka often teased him, calling him the billionaire engineer, especially after a business magazine featured a story about his rapid rise in the construction industry. Technically, his company's valuation and assets might indeed have crossed the billionaire threshold. A fact that left Sam both proud and a bit astonished when he thought about how far he had come. Despite the wealth and the accolades, Sam remained humble and grounded. He still lived primarily for his daughter's happiness. He bought a lovely home in Abuja, a spacious house with a garden where Adobe could play, far from the cramped quarters where she had spent her baby years. He ensured she got the best education possible, and he taught her to be kind and not to take their blessings for granted. They often visited his mother and family back in the village, never forgetting their roots or those who helped them. As for love, Sam had not really considered marrying again for a long time. The wound from Eber's betrayal was deep, and he was wary of trusting someone new, especially with a child in tow. But as the years went by, he healed bit by bit. He saw how his daughter sometimes longed for a mother figure. She grew fascinated whenever she saw other children with their mother, or when her teacher at school, Miss Sonia, showed her affection and guidance. It so happened that this Miss Sonia, a warm-hearted woman in her late 20s, took a special liking to Adobe at school. She knew of the girl's situation, a single father, no mother around, and gave extra care to ensure the child never felt left out during mother-centric activities. Over time in school events and parent-teacher meetings, Sam came to know Sonia better. She was intelligent, compassionate, and had an easy manner with children. Before he knew it, Sam found himself drawn to her gentle spirit. Sonia, for her part, admired the devoted father she saw in Sam. He was always the one to drop off and pick up his daughter, to attend every school function, despite his wealth, which she learned of gradually. He was modest and treated everyone with respect. He also had a certain sadness in his eyes that Sonia wished she could suit. They started as friends, discussing the child's progress, sharing laughter at some of Ada's funny antics at school. Friendship gave way to a quiet budding romance. By the time the 6th year since Eber's departure rolled around, Sam realized that life had unexpectedly offered him a second chance at love. He proposed to Sonia under the guava tree in his mother's backyard during one of their visits to the village. With his daughter's approval, Ada had gleefully helped him pick out the ring. Sonia said yes, tears of joy in her eyes. It was a simple, heartfelt moment, away from the public eye. They planned to hold a traditional wedding ceremony in the village, followed by a small church wedding and a reception in Abuja. Invitations went out, and because Sam was now a prominent figure in his hometown, the story of his success and the scandal with his ex-wife was known to many. Word of his impending marriage spread quickly. It was through these grapevines and social media that eventually the news reached the one person who had been absent all this time, Eber. In Lagos, the city of her dreams, reality had been unkind to her. The day she arrived Lagos, she felt like a heroine, setting foot in a land of opportunity. She paid a visit to the bustling computer village market and with cash in hand, purchased the latest iPhone and a ring light for recording videos. The iPhone gleamed in her hand like a trophy. It symbolized the new life she was claiming. She took a selfie right then and there in the market, capturing her own confident smile amidst the crowd, and posted it with the caption, "New beginnings. Hello Lagos, the Queen has arrived." With the rest of her cash and some money withdrawn from the donated funds, she rented a room in a crowded lodge for a few weeks, just to have a base in the city. It wasn't in a glamorous part of town by any means, just a noisy bustling in a busy area with flickering power and a faint smell of damp. But she hardly cared. She felt like anything was possible now. In the early days, adrenaline and optimism drove her. She continued to update her social media account, but now she pivoted her persona. She thought it was wise not to harp on the baby Amara story for too long. She posted an update a couple of days after arriving, saying, "Despite all our prayers, little Amara didn't make it. Heaven gained an angel. Thank you all for your support. I'll be offline for a while to recover from this loss." This she posted to gracefully exit the scam without having to answer further questions. There was an outpouring of sympathy from her followers, and after that, she stopped using that particular account, letting it fade. She started a new account under a more glamorous alias, something like Eber Lush or Queen Eber Official, where she intended to rebrand herself as a city socialite and lifestyle influencer. With the iPhone's excellent camera, she took crisp videos of herself exploring Lagos, visiting shopping malls, mostly window shopping, but she made it look like she was buying. Strolling by the beach, sipping a soda at a fancy hotel lobby she wandered into, pretending she was a guest. She soon connected with a few small-time influencers and hype people who frequented the trendy spots. They didn't know her past and she didn't volunteer it. Instead, she spun a story that she was an up-and-coming influencer from out of town looking to collaborate. For a short while, it seemed like she might actually make it. She attended a couple of nightlife events through her new acquaintances, got photographed at a product launch by a local fashion boutique. She had dressed up nicely and snuck in by sticking with a group of invitees. She posted these moments lavishly, adding hashtags like #LagosLife, #InfluencerJourney. Her following started to inch upward again. though not as dramatically as the pity video had spiked it. She maybe reached tens of thousands of followers, enough to feel like she was somewhat known, but nowhere near the big leagues. But Lagos was expensive, and she was burning through money fast. The cost of her room, transport, feeding herself, buying some new clothes to keep up appearance, all of it drained her limited funds. Within a few months, the donation money and the cash from selling her belongings were mostly gone. She hadn't landed any paid influencer jobs. Most of her outings were her own investments, and no brand was actually paying her yet. The reality was that building a legitimate profile took time and authentic engagement, and she was struggling with that. Then came the blow that shattered her life chance at easy fame. One morning, as she tried to log into one of her social media accounts, she found it was inaccessible. Confused, she tried another platform. Banned as well. It turned out that her past had caught up with her. Some vigilant member of the online community had pieced together that her new account was run by the same person behind the Save Amara scam. Perhaps it was a slip-up on her part, like a similar email or phone number used, or someone recognized her face. They exposed her in a series of posts. The evidence laid out how she had faked the baby's illness for money. The expose went mildly viral in the Nigerian social media space. People were furious that they had been duped, and they reported her accounts en masses. As a result, her Instagram and Facebook were taken down due to violating community guidelines, fraud, and misleading content. On TikTok, where rules were slightly lesser, she tried to hold on, but the harassment from people who recognized her was too much. Every time she posted a video, angry comments would flood in. Scammer! Where is the money you stole? How is your sick baby neighbor? Liar! It was unbearable. She felt hounded and cornered. The social media world that once lifted her up was now casting her out mercilessly. With her reputation in tatters and no online platform left to prop her up, Eber's spirit broke in a way it never had before. The applause was gone, only the jeers remained. And so did the brutal reality of surviving in a big city with no job, no family, no support, and now a reputation so tarnished that even her new acquaintances shunned her after learning the truth. One by one, those fair weather friends vanished. Some stopped answering her calls. Others flat out told her to stay away because they didn't want their own reputation stained by association. Eventually, the rent on her room ran out and she couldn't pay for another month. The landlord, a gruff man tired of hearing her promises that money was coming, threw her out one hot afternoon, unceremoniously dumping her bags on the sidewalk. It started drizzling as she sat on the club clutching her suitcase, the very same one she had launched to Lagos full of dreams and outfits. Now, it was battered and held only a few clothes. She had sold a number of her nicer dresses and shoes over the month to get some money for food. Homeless and nearly penniless, Eber had to make some tough choices. She swallowed her pride and reached out to one of the few people in Lagos she knew who wasn't an influencer type. The one friend from secondary school who had relocated to the city years ago. This friend, Amaka, had initially been starstruck by the glamorous front Eber had put on social media. They had reconnected with Eber when she arrived to Lagos. With Amaka gushing, "Girl, you are living the life, oh. Take me with you to this event sometimes now." Eber had obliged a couple of times, enjoying having a little entourage. Now though, Amaka saw a different Eber. A desperate, worn-down woman on the verge of destitution. To her credit, Amaka let Eber crash on her couch for a while. but Amaka had a small apartment and a big family back home she was supporting, so it wasn't a situation that could last long. She urged Eber to either find a job or consider returning to her family. Eber tried to find work. She really did, but her CV was practically empty. She had never held a proper job beyond a short stint as a sales girl before marriage, and explaining a 6-year gap, not to mention the truth of it, was nearly impossible. She went for a few interviews at stores and offices, but nothing panned out. Either she was underqualified or the pay was so small that it wouldn't even cover childcare. The thought of her daughter came stabbing into her heart whenever she saw mothers with kids around. Speaking of her daughter, not a day passed that she didn't think of the little girl. In the early months, she told herself she would send for her once she was settled. Then when things went bad, she was grateful the girl was with her father and presumably alright. But as time went on and silence stretched between her and her old life, the ache in her heart grew. Shame kept her from calling home. She assumed Sam would never want to see her or hear from her again, and that her family might scold or reject her for what she had done. She sometimes found herself standing outside schools at closing time, watching children spill out laughing and running, and tears would fill her eyes, wondering which class her daughter was in now, how tall she had grown, what her laugh sounded like. Regret became her constant companion. At night, on Amaka's couch, she would stare at the ceiling and replay the choices she had made. The first lie, the first live stream, the moment she pinned that makeup on her innocent baby's face. What was I thinking? She would whisper to herself. The silence would offer no answer. After a few months, even generous Amaka had to ask her to leave, as her landlord complained about an extra occupant. With nowhere to go, Eber ended up in a sort of women's shelter run by a church, where she could at least sleep on the mat at night and get basic meals. In exchange, she helped in the kitchen or with cleaning. It was a humbling existence. She, who once dreamed of high society, was now content just to have a roof over her head for the night and rice to eat. Years passed in this manner. She moved around occasionally, doing odd jobs like helping at the market stalls, cleaning houses when she could get the work. Once, she even worked as a server at a small eatery until the manager recognized her from the scandal and fired her quietly to avoid issues. She learned to stay low to avoid drawing attention to herself. An irony not lost on her, given how fervently she once sought fame. The precious iPhone she had sacrificed so much for was sold in her second year in Lagos to pay off a debt she owed a neighbor for food. She switched to a cheap little phone afterward, used mostly to call her aging father once in a rare while. In those brief calls, she never told him the full extent of her plight. She would just say, "I'm fine, Papa. I'm working on something. God will provide. How is everyone?" Her father always urged her to come home, but she would deflect, saying she would come soon, and hung up quickly to avoid breaking down. She couldn't face them, not yet. Then one Tuesday morning, everything changed. She had just finished sweeping the shelter yard and was resting on a plastic chair under a tree when her small phone rang. It was her father. She stared at the screen for a moment before picking up. "Papa, good morning, sir." His voice came through softly, but with an urgency she hadn't heard in a while. "Eber, my daughter, I know I've begged you many times, but please listen this time. You must come home, oh." Her heart skipped. "Papa, is everything okay? What happened?" There was a pause, then a sigh. "I didn't want to hear it from strangers. Your former husband, Sam, is getting married on Saturday. The whole village is preparing for it. They say he's now a big man, a billionaire. The wedding will be at his family compound. Ebere froze. Her breath caught in her throat. Sam getting married? Yes, to a school teacher from Obertown. Very fine and respectful girl, they say. He raised your daughter alone. That girl, she's grown, Ebere. They say the new woman treats her like her own. Tears welled up in Ebere's eyes. Papa, are you sure? I'm very sure. Everybody is talking about it. I wanted you to hear it from me, not from gossip or internet. If you still have any sense of dignity, come home before that wedding. At least see your daughter. Even if Sam wouldn't forgive you, maybe the girl will. The call ended with her father pleading again, but Ebere had already sunk to her knees. For several minutes, she sat there in the dirt, not feeling the dust clinging to her. The words kept echoing. Sam is getting married. Sam is a billionaire now. Your daughter is growing without you. That night, she didn't sleep. The next morning, she gathered her few belongings, just a faded dress and an old photograph of her baby girl, and left the shelter. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't explain. She only told the matron she had a family emergency and had to travel. With her small savings, she paid for a bus going to the east. The journey was long and dusty. Every bump on the road felt like punishment. She stared out the window, replaying her father's words. She wondered what Sam would say, what her daughter would look like now. Would she even recognize her? By the time she arrived in the village, it was evening. She didn't go straight to her father's house. Instead, she walked towards Sam's family compound. Music was playing in the distance. Bright canopies and decorations were everywhere. People were laughing, dancing, celebrating. She had missed the wedding. Her heart dropped. From the road, she saw him, Sam, standing tall, in a fine cream-colored senator wear with red embroidery. He looked older, richer, and more confident. Beside him stood a beautiful woman in traditional attire, holding Adobe's hand. Adobe, their daughter. She had grown into a beautiful child, with big eyes and braided hair adorned with red beads. Her white dress sparkled in the dusk light, and she looked like a princess. Ebere's heart broke open. She had missed everything. Still, she walked forward, slowly, like someone approaching her own funeral. A few villagers noticed her and began whispering, "Isn't that Ebere? She came back. She has nerves, so." Sam looked up and saw her. Their eyes met. Silence fell like a curtain over the compound. The music faded into the background. Every eye turned to watch. She fell to her knees in front of him. "Sam," she whispered, "I'm sorry." Tears streamed down her face. "I came to say I'm sorry. I made the worst mistake of my life. Please forgive me." The new wife stepped back slightly, her expression unreadable. Adobe clung to her father's leg. Sam stared at Ebere for a long time, then said, "Stand up." She shook her head. "I can't. I don't deserve to. Stand up, Ebere." Slowly, she stood, trembling. "I forgave you a long time ago," he said. Her eyes widened. "But forgiveness," he continued, "doesn't mean we can go back to what we were. I've moved on. We've moved on." She nodded. "I know. I don't want to come back. I just wanted to see her. To see that you are okay." He looked down at Adobe. The girl peeked out from behind him, studying Ebere with quiet curiosity. Are you my mommy?" she asked in a small voice. Ebere covered her mouth and cried, Yes, I am. I'm so sorry, Adobe. I never stopped loving you." The girl reached out and touched her mother's hand. Just a little touch, but it meant everything. Eber returned to leave shortly after. Sam asked, "Do you have somewhere to stay?" "I'll go to my father's house," she replied. He nodded. "Take care of yourself." She gave one last look at her daughter, her smile, her innocence, and then walked away. That night, her father welcomed her with tears and silence. He didn't shout, he didn't scold. He simply held her and let her cry in his arms. Later, in the dim light of a kerosene lamp, he said only one thing, "My daughter, let this pain teach you. Don't waste it." She nodded, and from that day, Eber began to rebuild. She helped her father on the farm, washed clothes for villagers, and slowly regained her strength. Gossip didn't bother her anymore. She had made peace with her past. But whenever she passed a mirror, she would whisper, "Chasing a fake life online will only leave you with real tears." And that became her message to any girl who would listen. The most important lesson in this story is that a fake life may look shiny, but it hides dark consequences. Don't lose your real blessings chasing the illusions of social media. In the end, love, integrity, and humility are the true treasures of life. And with that, my dear friends, our story comes to a close. But remember, the magic of storytelling lives on, waiting to whisk us away on new adventures where the wonders of imagination know no bounds. Goodbye for now, and may your dreams be filled with joy, wonder, and endless possibility. Thank you so much for watching. Please kindly comment, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting stories.